Hello, everybody. Whoa, there's my baby. Coda and I here. We're gonna go live, guys, and we're gonna. Hi, baby. She hasn't seen me all day. I've been out at the facility working. We're gonna go live and answer your dog training questions, guys. So I have a topic I want to discuss really quick. First, some exciting news, I think, in my opinion. What? Okay. So I'm Tom. I'm a dog trainer. If you guys don't know, if you guys get here, do me a favor, like this video. That means I know that you're here, and we're gonna get right into it. So the first thing I want to say is we're doing a new type of dog training playlist on my channel. For those of you who don't know, I primarily deal with a lot of different behavioral issues. So I primarily deal with behavioral problems. Natalie, what's up? And so I've been getting a lot of messages, and even I try to be as transparent as possible. And for me, I love animals, and I love dogs as much as I can. I don't really necessarily love the dog training industry because of the politics that are involved. So I'm doing this new thing where I'm putting together videos where I'm using almost no tools. So slip collars, flat collars, martingales, no prong collars, no e-collars, and things like that. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I realize that there's a lot of people out there that can't use tools in the country or in the place that they live. And some of the applications that I do here in the United States don't apply to them, and I feel bad. I feel bad because you can't use tools, but I also feel bad that you can't maybe use some of the training techniques that I use. And so, as you guys know, like I said, we for my training schedule, basically the only thing that we do right now is I only do out-of-state clients. So I only take the dogs that are coming into the facility. I have 10 other people on staff that do various amounts of different things that a lot of you guys don't see. I'm also a business owner as well. So it's not just YouTube and it's not just training. It's, I have to run a business as well. And I primarily only do behavior modification. So the majority of dogs that I work with are dogs that have, of course, worked with several other trainers, or they're at their wits' end, or they're going to be euthanized, or they're severely aggressive, or they have a bite history, or they've killed other dogs, they've bitten other people. And you guys are only getting that information because it's what I love the most. It's my passion. It's like something that I innately love doing. And so for me, I've been, trying to do the best I can to kind of cycle through some of the comments without looking too deep into them. But I try to give you guys what you want to see, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of experiences, working with different things, and we have a lot of experiences across the board and variations of dogs that we see that you guys don't see. And I'm starting to realize, because of how fast we're growing on YouTube, that I want to try to take advantage of all the dogs that come in, and I want to be more. I do train a lot of other dogs, I should say, a lot of different types of dogs. We have a dog coming in right now that just came in from Philadelphia, that requires absolutely no tools, just food and a slip collar. And so for me, it's really about, I want to show you guys that information, because I'm frankly disappointed in some of the comments I've seen about people saying that I can only use tools to train dogs, when in a matter of fact, it's my demographic. It's the dogs that come in require tools because of the dogs that I primarily deal with. These are aggressive, potentially dangerous dogs sometimes, as well as these guys have 5 hours to work with me, and then they go home, and I have to give the owners everything that they need in order to be successful and safe. And so I just wanted to make that clear and clear the air, and then I'm going to get into some questions that I'm definitely going to start doing, like a playlist literally with just dogs without tools for everyone out there that's living in different countries that can't use tools, as well as it's becoming. I really don't care what anybody thinks of me. However, I do want to make sure that I'm clear that my abilities don't derive strictly from tools. I can train a dog with literally nothing. And I want to showcase that for people that can't use tools. And I also want to showcase that for people who maybe aren't comfortable with tools. But I just wanted to make that clear, that the reason why I use tools as much as I do is because the demographic of dogs that come in. When we get an email, we get an inquiry with my managers, they say, okay, this dog is dealing with this. You're going to go to this trainer. You're going to go to this trainer. And like I said, I really only work with dogs that are coming from out of state at this point. And those dogs are coming from a distance because they are working on severe stuff that they've had very little help with from other people. So I just wanted to make that clear, and I'm excited to be able to do that. The reason why I didn't do it before is because there's a lot of other great channels that do a lot of basic stuff that I don't think that I necessarily need to do. But as I realize as my channel continues to grow, that you guys are interested in stuff like that. So I just wanted to make that known that I'm going to start doing that. And yes, that was Lakota, and she's in the office at my office here. So let's get into some questions, guys. The reason why I'm doing this is because you guys have given me such good feedback. And I'm just doing this as an appreciation post. I'm literally doing this just for you guys because I appreciate you very much. You guys are always super supportive, and you're so kind, and I really like to give back as much as I can. So let's get into some questions. If you guys are getting in here, we have almost 250 people in here. We have 50 likes. Hit that like button, guys, to let everybody else know that we're doing this live so we can answer some more questions. I'm going to answer this question. What age is okay to use a prong collar on a dog? I've answered this probably 464,000 times, but that's okay. I'm going to answer it again. It's a good question, and I understand that a lot of you are maybe new to my channel. And so I actually did a podcast with my buddy Forrest Mickey on this. I would highly suggest you look into that because we talked about this quite a bit. Forrest is a magician slash professor and talks about it very eloquently. And so I would say that the dog needs to understand the pressure before you can really use the collar, unless you're dealing with, like, if I have a dog that is dangerous or that needs a correction really fast, which you guys may have seen me do in some of my videos, I'll use a prong collar to be safer. I also just did a prong collar video last week or the week before with a dog that was really insecure, and it smashed all the ideologies and the scientifically proven ideas of using prong collars or using aversives is strictly only it doesn't help a dog that's insecure. And I literally did it bang right there. It really builds confidence out in a dog. So the prong collar can be introduced as long as the dog understands the pressure and knows how to turn it on and off safely. And I think as well as having the dog just understand where they're at and they're aware of what you're asking them to do. So the prong collar is a pretty safe tool as long as it's fit properly. But I would also say that your prong collar should really be introduced by a professional as well as fit by a professional, because I would say 9 times out of 10, prong collars are not fit right, which therefore they don't work, and people hang them on the shelves. Natalie, I'm trying to get your question here because I really appreciate other trainers just in general. So how have you delegated and grown your business with the demand of social media? It's a great question, Natalie. For those of you who don't follow Natalie, she has Canine Performance, so she puts out really great stuff. I hear really good things. Hoping to work together in the future, but without avoiding a burnout. It's for me, it's what drives me to be completely honest with you is my passion drives me to continue. I also think that, especially in the social media world, there's so much BS. And I had an online session with somebody yesterday, and we were just talking about the more noise you make, and the more pissed off people get at you, you're doing something right. And I think that I do a pretty good job about just being very, 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 very open about hey, there's other ways to do things. There's a lot of channels, especially on YouTube and on other things, that people call me I've had this one guy the other day call me a bully and all this stuff because I stick up for tools. And I say, actually, there's not a lot of people out there that are actually putting out information and putting out videos on tools and things like that, which is why I've been heavily putting out content with that, because of the dogs that I'm working with. But I guess to answer your question about without getting burnt out is just realize that there's so many people out there that are just waiting for you to fail. And there's so many people out there that just wish you would shut up because you're proving a lot of their BS theories wrong and their marketing manipulation wrong. That really, really, really motivates me to continue to do better for the dogs, because there's a train going to go by and it's going to be really loud for a second. But, for me, it's just really about being able to just put out information that people need to hear. And I think that just like anything else in the world, the more information you put out that goes against what everyone else thinks that they need to hear, the more pushback you're going to get. And that's what really motivates me. Anytime anybody says, anything negative really about tools and about the way that I handle myself with tools and the confidence that I have doing it, fires me up. I mean, it really. I mean, I'll go out and buy a new lens. I'll spend thousands of dollars on new camera gear just to go out and just do better and better and better, because I want people to realize that there's other ways to handle dogs. Mainly because dogs are dying every single day because of the lack of knowledge about certain things. So what drives me the most without getting burnt out is um, the team that I have built as well. I'm pretty isolated with what I do. I try to just stay focused on what I want to do and block everything out. I think that that's important. Natalie, just put your head down and just keep pushing forward and work with people. Is the mic crackling, guys? Sorry. Hold on. How's that? Is that better? But anyway, just passion, 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 and just keep driving forward. And there's going to be a lot of people that really hate what you do because you're making noise and you're pushing against what they don't want to hear. So it's hard. It's hard, I think, in any industry not to get burnt out if you're pushing really forward with your passion. But anyway, I'm glad that the crackling is gone. Let's get into some more questions. How do I help my Shiba Inu stop being reactive when meeting other dogs? She's very particular in dogs, and I don't know how to safely introduce her to other dogs without Pika Pika. I think that's like a Pikachu reference, which I love. Um, you don't. First of all, your dog doesn't have to meet other dogs. I think if your dog is insecure and reactive about other dogs, I think that first and foremost, I would try to maybe work with a trainer that can help you understand this reactivity, because the reactivity may be derivated towards insecurities or fear, or maybe your dog just doesn't like other dogs. There's also probably a lot of different things that you're doing to make your dog insecure. So if your dog is not good with other dogs encountering on the leash, I would avoid it at first, because I don't think that maybe it's a positive thing. So I hope that answers that question. It's really hard to say without really diving into those behaviors. If you guys are just getting here, don't forget to like that. We have over 300 people here, so like that like button. Um, do you recommend German Shepherds? Sure. If you get a well-bred German Shepherd. Um, Riley Reed. My 6-month-old GSP goes absolutely crazy when people come over to the house. How can I get her to calm down without getting so worked up? Well, I think the first thing is obedience really helps with that. So teaching your dog how to be calm in the first place. Like if you don't have any obedience, any preconditioned notions of your dog being calm, and you're not practicing those things on the leash, then it's going to be really hard in a highly stimulated area for your dog to be calm. So I think that that's something that you have to work on, as well as what I call guest management. So you're going to have to make sure that your people who are coming into the house aren't also elevating your dog to a point of like a crazy excitement. Because that plays a big role. Like my mom's the worst at that. She comes in the house and she's like, ah. And so like I let my dogs outside before my mom gets into the house, because I know that she's going to elevate them. And I know that that's how she is, and she's never going to change probably, no matter what I say to her. So I think guest management as well as obedience. So as far as specific obedience, getting excited, I would tell your dog to go to their place, teaching on sit stays or implied sit stays, depending on what you want to do. But I think obedience and practice, and then understanding that your dog is at an age, probably as if they're a puppy, that they get really, 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 really excited, and that's normal. So you just have to be very empathetic towards that approach too, and make sure that you're understanding that this is normal behavior. But you also have to make sure you're putting in enough work to counter it. All right, well, there's a lot of questions coming in here, guys. You guys are the best, man. This is great. This is so fun. I absolutely love hanging out with you guys. It's really, really fun. I really do. My dog can't do sit down in place, but I can get him to hold it until break. My dog can do sit down in place. What can I do to get him to wait for my command to release? You have to continue to make that incrementally better. So you just have to continue and continue to get it better and better and better and better as you get. It's just part of it. I mean, if your dog does a sit and a down and a place, you have to be able to copy and paste that and get it better. I call it the 3Ds, which is distance, distractions, and duration. So you're going to have to continue to make that better. It's just because your dog knows sit doesn't mean they're going to sit for a long time. It doesn't mean they're going to sit with nothing going on around them. If your dog actually sits down, um, then you have to continue to get better at that. It's just something that you have to work on. It's nothing that is easy. How is your day? My day is going pretty good. I'm going to look at some property to expand our business later this evening, which is nice. I have a bunch of people coming from out of state to work with me today, which I always love to meet new people. So my day is going pretty good. I hope your guys' day is going good. How can I help a nervous dog in public and especially if people? Again, it's one of those things that you have to advocate for your dog. I think too many times, which is part of what I was talking about earlier in this session, in regards to Natalie's question about it just people just don't know. I'm literally just like when I first started YouTube and I first started this channel, I literally was just setting up a camera and I was like, I wonder if people would be interested in this, and it just people are just like, wow, I had no idea. And so a lot of people think that dogs are supposed to be overly friendly. I actually find it quite odd sometimes when a random person comes up to a dog and the dog just flips over on their back and pees on themselves with submission. I think that that's actually kind of odd for an animal to do that. But because we've domesticated them in breeds and different things, it happens. And so if your dog is fearful of people, you have to advocate for them and tell them that it's not okay for other people to pet your dog. So doing things like getting a vest and just saying like, hey, my dog, just say don't pet my dog, things like that. I think it's totally okay for your dog to be fearful of random people. I think that that's normal and that's natural in the animal kingdom to be a little bit suspicious of new people. So if you want to make it better, when people approach, if your dog's, everyone wants to, pet your dog. So you just say, hey, my dog's in training right now. So, just ignore him, please, or something like that. And the more you do that, the more your dog will realize that people aren't as scary as maybe they think they are. I'm going to take a sip of water. If you guys do me a favor, we have almost 320 people in here. Hit that like button for me. Thank you. We just jumped 20 likes. You guys are the best. How do I help my dog with bikes? Bikes, skateboards, rollerblades, anything that moves typically is a prey-driven, like, excitement thing for dogs. So they see something move like that, and like especially this one. She's on the bed behind me. You guys can probably see her. This is like my spare room. She's right there. But she goes crazy for like the weed whacker, the lawnmower, anything that moves. She literally is like so excited about. So just understand it's a prey drive, so it's natural, just like dogs with food. They're like, hey, this is food, this is yummy. However, with bikes, you just, for me, it's like you can desensitize them, but if a dog is lunging at a bike and lunging at a rollerblader or lunging at somebody walking by with a stroller, that's a safety thing because you're going to get dragged down. They could potentially get caught in a car or whatever. It's crackling again, eh, guys? Let me just put it back in. Sorry. I have my wireless ones, but they're not as... I don't think the mic is as good, so I'm using this. Let me know if... You guys just let me know if it keeps crackling on you, and I'll adjust it. I apologize for that. But anyway, going back to that, it's really about correcting. For me, I'm very assertive. I think that that's like the best way people learn. I think the best way animals learn. I think it's what the animal kingdom does, which is why I spent so much time working with wolves and coyotes and understanding wild dogs and things like that. Is if there's a problem, they handle it. They don't like avoid, and they don't tap on shoulders and say, "Excuse me, can you please stop doing this?" or something like that. They're very assertive. They're like, hey, and they correct a dog really quickly. And so for me, like if a dog is like lunging out into traffic or lunging at a bike or something, that's dangerous. And they could potentially get hurt or worse. And so for me, I correct that behavior. However you want to do that is completely up to you and whatever makes sense to you and your dog. I correct that behavior and I mark it with something. So I say leave it, or I say no, or whatever the heck you want to use. And then that way in the future it's scalable, and you're able to say leave it without correcting your dog, because the point of a correction, guys, is correcting or modifying a behavior. So in the future you just have to say, hey, do this, and then they do it. And so if you're constantly having to do this all the time, or you're using your e-collar all the time, it's probably something that you're not really teaching your dog. So anyway, so it's really just about making sure that you correct the behavior, and then desensitizing it over time, and then also using positive reinforcements, using some sort of motivation and food to reward a dog. So anyway, I think that's a big part of dog training, is just operant conditioning. The art of canine interaction. What do you think about dog studies and how are they conducted? It's a very interesting question. It's a very layered question. I love this question though, because so for me, it's something I'm actually getting into. So behind the scenes, I'm doing a lot of stuff with other people in the industry to bring out new information. Because you could call what I do too a lot of studies and a lot of variables and a lot of clinical stuff, because I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of documented footage of dogs, doing better or doing worse or getting progressional or doing way better. I mean, I have a lot of information on my YouTube channel of before and afters doing certain variables, but of course it's edited. I mean, it's a 10-minute video out of an hour or more. So studies, for me, I'm skeptical, because what type of, if they're doing studies on equipment, that's one big thing I have a problem about, is what equipment are they using? Who's using that equipment? Is that person, because that's a lot of the studies that I see that people try to throw in my face, is about how aversive tools are not as good as using maybe purely positive reinforcement, or not using any aversives at all is better for a dog long term, and their emotion and suppression and all that stuff. And for me, it's the same thing that you can, come back at me to say, what type of purely positive trainers have my past clients worked with that were failing and things like that. So I have to be fair, of course, a devil's advocate on both ends of the spectrum. But, dog studies I'm interested in. I'm very interested in, because I think that there's a lot of studies out there being done by people who are sitting back and watching dogs, but they're not really working with dogs with severe issues as well. So for me, using an aversive versus a positive only training style, or a motivator or food or some sort of thing like that, is obviously nothing that I would do anyway. I'm not going to take a dog like the video. I actually just filmed a video with a golden retriever that has zero behavioral problems, and they're actually working on basic stuff. They're working on basic relationship building, right? So I didn't use any tools. I just used a little slip collar and a leash, and that was it. And then I added food at the end. And so if you look at the chemicals and in the way that the brain works in the dog is going to be happier, more motivated, and more engaged when there's food involved, versus just doing work without any food and with adding some sort of pressure, because that's how everybody works. I mean, if you were to say, hey, I want you to work versus I want you to work for free, it's two different things. So I don't think that the studies that are going on out there are conducted fairly, in my opinion, but I think that there is good information to pull from those things, and I think it's valuable, and I appreciate anybody that's doing studies with dogs. I just think that there's also a lot of science-based studies that are also going on that are very one-dimensional, and I think that they're lopsided versus one way or the other. And so I'm working on that actually with some other people in the industry to start to go through some of these studies, as well as conduct a lot of my own studies, which I have in the past. So it's a good question. Anyway, that was long-winded, but I'm pretty interested in that. How to make a puppy do commands without knowing they'll get a treat? Oh, well, that's a good question. Similar and linking and bridging to what we were just talking about. I'll just talk about this for a minute, because this is big. I know that there's tons of questions coming in, which is great. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Let me just dive into this for a second. Like I said, I just filmed a video with an 8-month-old golden retriever, and the owners were like, hey, we just want to tighten things up. They're like, we love our dog. We don't really have huge behavioral issues. We just want to tighten some things up. I'm like, perfect. Usually I'm dealing with a dog that wants to rip my throat out. So this is great. I get to work with a dog that actually I can love up on and be with, which is good. But I didn't bring food out. So the point of this story is I work the dog solely on just a leash and a collar, not an aversive collar necessarily that you guys would think, like a prong collar or something. All I did is I just worked with a slip collar, just a dominant dog collar, very basic slip, like a kennel leash. And so what I did is I worked with the dog, and I taught the dog different behaviors. And then the owners took the leash, and they were like, mind was blown. They were like, this is the best our dog has ever walked. We were 35 minutes into it, and the dog was being engaged. The dog was paying attention. I didn't use any food. The dog was super, super motivated. And I know with an 8-month-old golden retriever that if I would have taken food out, and I'm going to get to this point because I did take food out, and I want to tell you what happened because this is a study that I conduct all the time on film. So the dog was like, oh, okay, I'm working with you. And of course we were using lots of verbal positive reinforcement. So lots of motivator verbally. Good boy, good girl. Dogs love that. Your dog loves you. If you say good anything to them, they're like, woo. Their brain goes crazy, right? You walk into a room and a dog is like, right? So, anyway, at the end of the session, they were so happy, they were so pleased, and we were wrapping up. And I said, now I want to get out some food and put the cherry on top because this dog deserves it. Not that she didn't get rewarded before, but I know being a golden retriever at 8 months old, she's gonna be like ecstatic. But the problem was is she came up to me, she sat, she down, she sat, she went in between my legs, she pawed, she spun. The food motivator is sometimes overwhelming for dogs, and you can't decipher the difference between your dog actually learning new behaviors, capturing new behaviors, versus give me food, give me food, give me food, give me food, I'll do anything, I'll do anything. So I find that you can mess up a dog just as easy with food as or a ball if your dog is super ball driven like this one behind me. Geez, guys, I don't know. Sorry, I apologize. But anyway, if you're doing all of these things, guys, and you're using food, it is very difficult for that to happen. So anyway, I just wanted to that video is going to come out this week, which I'm really excited about. But if you use the highest reward possible in the beginning, it's really hard to decipher whether or not the dog is actually capturing behaviors or not. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And of course, it just depends on the dog that you're working with and everything. It's very discretionary. I'm just actually going to switch over to a different setup here. You guys tell me if this is better or not, because I hate bad audio. It's like my biggest pet peeve. Hold on. Okay, so it's so weird having a conversation with like 330 people and I can't hear any of you, and so I hope that this is better. If it is, let me know. If it's not, let me know. And I'm going to answer some more questions. Hey Tom, so Brandon, this is a good question. I just got a prong collar. What circle do I put the leash and the hook on? Good question. It depends on what type of prong collar you have. So let me just go over both of these things. Look at all the freaking headphones I have. I'm glad that this is better. So if you have a prong collar that has a half ring and a circle, you're going to put the prong collar on the half ring. So there's going to be like a little half ring. So it's literally just like a little U, and then there's another D ring, and then you're going to put your leash on the actual half ring. It's a great question. I wish I had one in here, but I don't. Coda, come here, baby. Let me just show you. She has a martingale collar on. I can show you really quick. So this is a Hermspringer martingale collar. So it doesn't have any prongs. It's just a beautiful stainless steel prong. So a lot of collars will have like this little ring here, and then they'll also have a half ring, which is half of this. And so what you want to do is put your leash on the half one. And I will say, just to let you guys know, you should never put the prong collar right over the head like you would with this. That means it's not fit properly. So I hope that answers your question. Now, really quickly too, there are some models that the Hermspringer makes, like the Kurgan model or the black model, and they have 2 circle rings. And you're going to put the leash on the circle that's on top. So you should make a triangle. Take this off again. So this is your triangle here. So you should put your here. Okay. So anyway. Okay, so let's get into some more questions here. And if you guys are here, don't forget to like this video. Support the channel by liking. let's get into some questions. Tyler, I have a pit bull who gets somewhat reactive in certain situations. Like when I bathe him and use a towel on him, he growls at me sometimes and gets moody in other situations. So it sounds like your dog just doesn't like him or her touching it. So respectable, right? I think that that's something that like we can all respect. But I also think that, oh, here's some vitamin C I should probably take because I've been traveling recently. I also think that you just have to desensitize it. So it's tough because like for me, if a dog gets grumbly with me, if I start touching them in ways that they don't know, well then, if I don't know the dog, that's expected. I don't think that that's fair for me to touch and just, rub up on a dog that doesn't know me. I don't think that that's fair. But if it's your own dog, I would do the best you can to desensitize these things. And I've also, like, one of the big things on the AKC, like Canine Good Citizen thing is like touching a dog's paws. That's like a big test. It's a big thing. I actually have a really funny story if you guys are interested in hearing that about when I was first starting off training, I was shadowing somebody, and I'll explain that if you guys want to, but it's very interesting. But dogs do not like their feet touched at all. And so I think you just have to desensitize it. So you can use some food, you can use some positive reinforcement, like talking to them a little bit. But I think that, you just have to go, you have to push through it. Some dogs don't like certain things. And that's the thing, guys, they're animals. They're not robots. It's like, hey, I have a problem. How do I control alt delete this out? You can't. It's just you just have to realize that there's some things that your dogs aren't going to like. And you just have to do the best you can to be creative and work around that. Vitamin C. All right, I'll explain that story really quick because some of you guys are interested. So I was Christine Lazarus, I shadowed for a while. She's an English, she's from England. She's super cool. She's still training now. But she was doing a Canine Good Citizen test. This is probably 10 years ago. And she had a dog named Bigga, Bigga, and it was a German Shepherd. It was a Czech line, I believe. And kind of aggressive, but not like mean, just like really pushy. And so she was doing the Canine Good Citizen test, and she's like, here, I'm going to show Bigga. I'm going to show you guys how to do it with Bigga. And she took my hand and put it on Bigga's paws to touch, and he's sitting here growling as like teeth baring, and I'm sitting here like this. And I was just new into, the dog world in general at that time. I've only been working with dogs for like 3 years. And this dog's snarling here, and she's laughing, and she thought it was the funniest thing. And so that's my story about that. It was kind of scary, so I'll never forget that. Jeffrey, I've seen your leash training videos for barking and pulling, and it's helped amazingly. Thank you. However, I wanted to know, how do you do the same when they're in the house and not on the leash? Again, when we're training on the leash and we're training our dogs in general, we're trying to teach them things. So the leash and the collar isn't the thing that is sustaining your thing. It's nothing that's gonna be sustainable. Jeez, I'm gonna switch one more. Brand new thing. We'll try it again. I have no idea. It could be my phone. I don't know. So can you guys hear me now? Check, check, check. Cool. Okay. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. Thank you guys. Anyway, so just making sure that your dog is capturing and understanding the behaviors you're teaching them. That's the most important thing. So if your dog is not responsive and is not complying to the things inside, that means that your dog doesn't know what you're trying to teach them in general. They don't understand. You're biting off more than you can chew, is what I'm saying. So if you're practicing things on the leash and then you go off leash, there's two things. The dog could not be capturing these things properly. Thank you very much. The dogs could not be capturing these things properly. And you're just not ready to be off leash yet. So the house is coming along. I'm building the house too. For those of you who don't know, it's coming along. It's coming along. Thank you for the congrats and the engagement. Thank you. Do dogs get more aggressive with age? Sure. Dogs, like dogs can, as dogs mature, they can certainly change, just like we do, right? We change behaviors. I'm not watching Barney anymore. I'm not here. Actually, let me show you this funny picture. This is the picture of me and my brother. I'm I'm this one. So I'm not that little dude anymore that like likes to watch Barney. So dogs are the same way. If they grow out of things, and they can definitely become a little bit more edgy with certain things. All right. This is fun. I'll take another sip of water. If you guys are here, go ahead and hit that like button. Okay, let me just, Catalina. Hi, Tom. Hi. I have a 75-pound German Shepherd. I think that's what you're saying. I bought a 2.25 collar. He is reactive with other dogs. The store didn't have a 3.0, but I bought 3 extra links. Yeah, it's fine. Just make sure you get a safety clip. So you can go to my website at nobaddogs or shopnobaddogs.com and make sure you get a safety clip for your dog. It's totally fine. Just make sure you get a safety clip. You can go on my website, americascanineducator.com, and it'll give you our shop as well. Let's see. How do I become a trainer? I'd love to get into this field. Ooh, doggy. That's a good question. Well, the advice that I give people is if you want to get into the dog training industry, I would suggest picking and that's what I'm trying to do, guys. And with you guys and with me, I'm trying to shake it up. I'm trying to drain the pond, if you will, what they call politically. I want to just like eye open for people. I want people to realize that the dog training industry isn't just like this one thing. There's so many different layers. There's duck hunting, there's bird hunting, there's protection, there's obedience, there's agility, there's therapy, there's behavior, there's puppy, there's therapy, there's Schutzhund, there's IPO, there's all this stuff. I mean, there's so many different levels of dog training. So what I would suggest, the leashes are back in stock, Emily. What I would suggest is just figure out what kind of trainer you want to be. And if you don't know what that is, then that's something you're going to have to like maybe shadow or work at a dog training facility for a bit, or a doggy daycare facility a bit. Some people don't like working with behavior like all I loved, like I literally get goosebumps on my arm when I have a dog that is aggressive or mean or wants to kill me. I get so excited. I was not taught that. That's just what God gave me. I just absolutely enjoy helping a dog that is like that. No bad dogs. I said, okay, this is a problem. So for me, I don't do competitive obedience. It doesn't, it doesn't wake me up every morning. It's something, like things like that. So, you just have to figure out, it's like being a chef. That's why I created like the dog training is art thing, because it is an art. You have to figure out your what you want to do, and that's what I'm trying to do with this channel, guys. As we grow, and as we continue to grow and grow and grow, and over the next couple of years, I hope to be at 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and just really shake the industry up a bit without having a big TV show and somebody producing all this stuff for years. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just growing with you guys organically as possible to just like shake the industry up and just let people know that there's other ways to do things. And what I would do is go in and just try to figure out exactly what style and what interests you the most, and more importantly, what you like doing. So that's what I would do. I have a podcast on it. I also talked on my podcast with Michael Ellis about it, about certifications and things like that. The whole thing. All right, Chris. Let's see. I have a German Shepherd from a shelter, 1.5 years, fearful, reactive with dogs, solid on the prong, walking from home, pulls right through the prong on the way back. Then that means you work on your heel. You have to work on your heel. That's if your dog is pulling on the way back, that means that your heel, it becomes a very anxious thing. If your dog is very anxious to go home, that means that they're very anxious to like get back home. So you just have to work on your heel. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate that, brother. Let's see. Tom, my neighbors are going to get their dog put down because they're scared of him and they don't want to handle him. No, I'm in upstate New York and I am booked until December. So no, I can't help, but I suggest finding a dog trainer that can help. Those questions are kind of unfair for me because I'm completely booked solid. So I would just have them take the dog yourself. Can you rescue a pit bull that's been in fighting? Yep. Thank you, Cynthia. Yeah, I hear you, Jess, for sure. Um, how do I show my dog on the alpha? Like I think alpha is just a word that has been thrown around so much, and I think that people don't understand what that means necessarily, or how it's implied or applied. Um, it's hard to say like what alpha is for a domesticated dog because they're not they don't they have the capacity to understand canine behavior, and they act as so for the most part, but every dog is different. So you don't want to be alpha over your dog. You want to be a leader. So like in a wolf pack or something like that, the alpha isn't the biggest, strongest, fastest. The alpha is usually the one that is quieter and is actually in charge and more historically like wise, if you will. Sometimes even the oldest in the pack. So if you want to assert alphaness in your opinion, you're saying, how do I get my dog to? How do you overcome that you're in charge? Well, being clear, being concise, being calm, being confident is how you become alpha in your pack. Let's see, Steve, what do we got here, buddy? I'm 18 years old and I have a 9-year-old Malinois that doesn't have any behavioral problems but never undergone basic training. How should I approach training with her? Fantastic question, my guy. Get a leash. Hey, baby, get a leash out. Get some motivation out. So if it's a ball, it's a tug, if it's food, and just start teaching basic stuff. So maybe teaching heel or teaching place. See, the problem is like with a dog that's that old, you don't want to go in with like tools and start correcting the dog and punishing the dog. You want to just start up with basic leash pressure with maybe a martingale or maybe even a dominant dog collar, and but more importantly, some motivation, because it'll get kind of confusing. So I would just go out and take it slow and start off with lots of motivation, lots of positive reinforcement there. Coda, come here. You want to say hi? Coda wants to say hi. I call Coda my little lizard lip dog because she's just so kissy. For any of you who's ever had like a Malinois or Dutch Shepherd, this is them all day long, just lizard lips to me and to all the other dogs. Just doesn't stop. Even with my cat, just crazy. Let's see. Hi, Coda. Coda, they say hi. I have a 1.5 year GSD. Obedience is on point, but when he sees another dog off leash, he howls uncontrollably. Well, it's tough. I mean, you just have to realize that if the other dog is going crazy, then your dog's going to go crazy. So just do the best you can to. For me, it's like being fair. If I have a dog on a leash and their best friend is at the other end of the leash, crying, howling, going crazy, whining, spinning, ready to play because they're at the play time, it's kind of almost unfair for your dog to just sit there like this and not do anything. So I would just say, just be realistic. I would ask the dog to sit and stay maybe for like 5 seconds and then break your dog. So I wouldn't necessarily try to get and grind all of that away because I don't think it's that fair, but get the idea. Okay. I'm getting a puppy in 2 weeks. He's a 6-month-old Doberman mix and doesn't have formal training. Is it too late for obedience? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. 6 months old is great. It's a great time. Just take it slow. Lots of positive stuff. Do the best you can to know like your game plan and get in there, and not too late at all. I don't think it's really ever too late, to be completely honest with you, if you're good at what you do. Hello, I have a 9-month-old Luke. I have a 9-month-old English Golden Retriever. She just got spayed, and she's been resource guardian, but she pulls on the leash. She pulls on the leash. Should I do the growls at us when she is laying down? Well, Luke, my best suggestion, that's like a 5-hour conversation, my guy, and it's dangerous. So my best suggestion to you is find a trainer that can help you, that you feel confident in, that works with behavior modification. It's the best thing to do. To help with that situation. I wish I could give you more, but in a half an hour, it's not even possible. It's not fair for you or me. How can I handle a dog that is collar savvy? If the e-collar is on and they listen and there's no e-collar on, the bets are off. So again, it's the same thing that I was talking about before is, when you're conditioning your dog to any type of collar, well, first of all, okay, let me just go over that really quick. With the e-collar, what I like to do is if I have time, which normally I don't, but you do because you live with the dog. So with the e-collar, I would put it out, put it on the dog, and not use it for as much as you can, and just make it like a positive thing. But you're probably already past that by now. So maybe just really, really, really work on your obedience. That's what I would do. I say, okay, my dog doesn't listen to the recall. How do I change that or whatever? And go back down to the basics. Start using your leash again. But I think like if your dog is collar aware, you just have to be very skillful and you have to be patient in order to overcome those things. And sometimes that takes a long time because basically sometimes if you put the collar on too soon and you use it without the dog really understanding and capturing the behaviors, that's when a dog is collar aware, and that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So I would just do the best you can to really work on, like if say you're having problem with the recall or you're having problem with the sit, take the e-collar off and work on it with something else, and just really, really refine your verbal cues over anything. The dog trainer asks, any advice for moving from working in rehoming shelters to doing more freelance behavioral work like yourself? I want to get away from the constraints working for charity puts upon training. Yeah, I would just, like for, again, guys, like I'm super transparent. I don't try to act like I know it all and everything. I find myself very confident with a lot of experience in behavior modification. It's what I'm very comfortable with. And so I try to like stay in my lane. So for you, just figure out what you like, figure out what you think you're good at, figure out what excites you the most, and just pick that lane to say, okay, this is what I really want to do. Whether it's basic obedience, it's puppy, it's relationship, it's behavior mod, whatever. See ya, Romeo. I would just try to go that route and just start building and never stop learning. I learn something new every single day of my life. I never try to act like I know it all. I never try to say that I know everything because that's silly and ignorant and ridiculous. So making sure that if you're going to start, just start slow and get your feet wet and jump in and do the best you can to attend seminars and watch videos and ask other people for help and just dive into what you're good at, dive into what you like doing. And I think that's you got to start. That's the hardest thing about everything in life is just starting these things. Do you do online consultations, Zoom or FaceTime? Absolutely. I've been doing them for many, many years. I talk about them on my social media almost every day. You can look at my Instagram and you can actually hit book now to work with me online. I actually just opened up a lot of online spots as well. Let's see. Emily asks, what's the difference between the 2.25 and the 3.0 prong collar? The size of the prongs. I don't have any right here, I usually do, but the 2.25 is a lot smaller and the 3.0 is bigger. Robert asks, should I correct a fear-aggressive dog for reacting, or can overcorrecting make the lose trust in the handler? Absolutely. Both. How you like that, Robert? Yeah, I mean, it's both. It's these types of, and again, like everything that I do, guys, of course, take with a grain of salt. I don't know for sure what we're talking about, what we're dealing with, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely like you can give pressure to an insecure dog to overcome certain things, but you can also do damage by correcting a dog that doesn't warrant a correction. So yes and no. I would, again, like, I know that you guys are looking for as much juice out of this online as possible as this live, but just do the best you can to like maybe find somebody in your area that can help you and walk you through or even answer the questions by watching your dog, somebody that you trust that has, worked with these things in the past. I wish I could give you a little bit more information on that, but yeah. What is your favorite e-collar and why? Dogtra, because it's something I'm just super comfortable with. I think Dogtra is a company that strides themselves on simplicity. And I think with dog owners, simplicity is really big because people get overwhelmed with all the bells and whistles on the e-collars. I have used other e-collars in the past. Dogtra is just like the most simplest collar to use for everyday dog owner use, and they have been for a while. So, hello, for the Dogtra Art collar, how do you decide what size contact points to use? Well, if your dog has longer fur, the longer ones are best. You can also add even longer ones, like 1 inch ones, you can get on their website. But for a dog that has maybe one coat, like just a guard hair coat, the smaller prongs are just fine. How do you build confidence in a dog? I have many, 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 many videos on that. That's like, how do I work on a car? I mean, there's so many different variables in that situation, but I would highly, and I'm sorry, but I would highly suggest just going out and watching all of the videos I have on that, because every single dog is different. So it's really hard to say. I'm getting a wolf hybrid puppy soon. What do I need to know about training her? She's 65%. Well, wolf hybrids, aren't good pets, period. I'm not saying that people shouldn't necessarily have them, I guess, but if you're going to have one, just understand that they're not dogs. Don't try to train them like a dog. Don't try to treat them like a dog, because they're not. Wolf hybrids, in my opinion, are like having a working cattle dog that lives on a farm. You should just let them be and let them do what they want. I wouldn't try to, and it just depends, of course. Like, they could be lying to you, and your wolf hybrid is 10% and it's mostly husky or it's mostly shepherd or whatever, and you could cuddle with your dog and whatever. So, it's hard to say, but that's kind of like my 2 cents on that. Just if it's mostly a wolf, don't treat it like a dog, because it's not. Oh, Salvador, my guy. How can I stop my dog from jumping at the window every time he sees a dog? I would start off by using a leash in the house, as well as like martingale collar, flat collar, whatever, and just work on that. So wait for a dog to go by, correct them when they jump. But most importantly, Salvador, my dude, making sure that you're verbally marking this. So the dog jumps up, off, pop, right? And then when the dog jumps up, you say off, they go, oop, I'm going to get off. And then yes, and then you pay him for that. So you have to teach them that it's not okay with a verbal cue. That way you don't have to use your leash around the house. I hope that helps. Have you ever worked with a German Shepherd Pit Bull? Probably. My opinion on them, I don't know. I try not to, breeds to me, or I try not to dive into them too much. I mean, it's real. It's a thing, but I'm not worried about that. A dog is a dog to me. Coda just burped. She's so funny. Hey, I have a Newfoundland 6 months old and submissive, but very anxious or obnoxious when playing. He is not very respectful of other dogs' boundaries, and it takes corrections. Well, it's a big dog, so they're not going to be very respectful because of how big they are. If your dog was small, it wouldn't look as disrespectful. So I think just understanding that your dog is huge and massive in the giant breed spectrum, and if your dog is playing with another dog, it's always going to be probably a disadvantage to the other dog because of the dog's size. So when dogs are playing, that's a very innate, natural thing that I really don't mess with too much unless it like gets aggressive. But if your dog is too rough, that's just, if the other dog doesn't like it, then okay, remove your dog. But there's not much you can modify and play, because play is like drinking water, where you're like, okay, I'm drinking, how do I make it go down differently? Or how do I, it's something natural that your dog does. So, Super Alex, what's up? Armand asks, my dog tries to be dominant and bullies smaller dogs. How can I stop that? Well, again, I try not to modify social interactions with dogs when they're playing. Like, if you're going to let your dog off leash and go play, that's how they're going to. If they're on the leash, that's different. But it's really tough to like correct dogs when they're playing because they're just playing, they're acting, they're it's like a bunch of kids running around in recess and you're like, hey Timmy, like you can try, but it's like, oh sorry, I didn't know. Like it's really tough to modify those things. So I would just pick and choose who your dog plays with and how dominant they are over that, and especially if your dog is intact and your dog is a certain breed or whatever. Just you know Cat Lady Luna Nova. I've been a cat person owner my entire life. My cat passed away last year, and I'm thinking about getting a dog. Is there any certain breed you would recommend for first-time dog owners? Oh, fabulous. What a great question. I would recommend going to the shelter and getting yourself a dog that is a calm but playful dog. Doesn't have to be young or old. But I would highly recommend not really worrying about breeds. I would go to the shelter because those dogs need home and they're very lovely. I have a shelter dog. She's very lovely. She's the best dog I've had. Sorry, Lakota. Love her to death. She's currently about 17 years old. I would highly recommend just going down to the shelter and just saying, hey, I want a trainable dog, and get yourself signed up for some obedience classes to get to know each other. And I think you'll be absolutely thrilled with that. That's my suggestion. What is the best way to train a dog to give other dogs space? Again, guys, these social interactions is you can't necessarily train these things. You can check your dog verbally, hey, leave it, or hey, come, or whatever. But when dogs are interacting, it's such a natural thing that it's very hard to modify those behaviors when they're in that situation. So I wish I could, maybe I'll make a whole video on that. I've gotten a lot of those questions. Fence fighting. How do I correct my fence fighting with an e-collar? Once I get my 14-pound terrier goes to the fence, I can't get him back unless we corner him. Recall. Your recall is not good. That's what you have to work on. So you're going to counter condition the fence fighting with basic recall. So you're going to tell the dog to come, and you're going to recall the dog. I also want to let you guys know, if you don't know yet, I have a podcast where if you guys like my YouTube videos and you enjoy me training and whatever, I also have a podcast where I do online sessions where I talk to people all over the world, which is great. China, Australia, Beijing, wherever the heck they are. And I record them, most of them, and I put them on my podcast. And we talk a lot about all the stuff you guys are asking about. And if you guys haven't yet checked that out, you can just literally search No Bad Dogs on any podcast platform. We've actually been we're in the top 10. We've been in the top 10. Maybe we've fallen out because I took a week off, but we've been in the top 10 in the United States for pets for a while now. It's an award-winning podcast, which I'm very proud of. I don't really push it too much, but I just want to let you guys know I do have a podcast that you guys can check out. Let's see. What has been, Jessica, good question. What has been your favorite dog case that you've worked on? Ooh. Well, I can't say I have a favorite, but I will say of recently, one of my favorite cases I worked on is with the pit bull, I think 2 weeks ago. Her name is Gypsy. And she was very, very, very insecure, and she was shutting down. And the dog owner came from Ohio, which is really far away from me, I guess. And the dog was shutting down. They've worked with all these other trainers. She couldn't get the dog to work. And it was great for me because I was able to implement a tool that historically, scientifically, has been proven that could never help a dog that is insecure or that is maybe fearful. And I was able to use the prong collar and develop a better relationship with the dog with that. And that's probably my favorite case recently because of people absolutely hate when I prove and I disrupt their scientifically proven evidence-based stuff. And that was wonderful for me, and I think it was wonderful for the industry to just realize that tools can be a remarkable thing if used properly, as well as used efficiently and humanely. And it was wonderful. This dog literally was hiding under a chair and just shaking and would not come out to me. And she spent, I think, 5 months, with another trainer, and the dog owner or the dog trainer finally was able to pet her. I used a micro 2.25 Kurg and Hermspringer prong collar with a little long line, and I gave a little pressure to the dog, and the dog literally popped out, walked over to me, put her ears back, spun around, sat in my lap. Absolutely beautiful. I just absolutely love making those breakthroughs. And I'm so grateful to be able to film it and put it up there for you guys. I appreciate you guys very, very, very much. I'm going to do, just so you guys know, I'm also going to be doing a seminar in the UK in the spring, hopefully, if COVID doesn't go crazy again. So I can't wait to meet you guys in the UK. It's right around London. And you guys have to turn on your notifications. I'm giving away online sessions. I'm giving away No Bad Dog hats. I'm giving away hoodies. I'm giving away t-shirts. I'm giving away Lakota. Just kidding. But just, you guys have to turn on your notification bell, and you have to turn on all notifications so you guys don't miss an opportunity to watch my videos as well as comment to make sure that you're on, on the list to win some free stuff. But I can't express how much I enjoy engaging with you guys. I have to run to my online right now, and we'll do this again. You guys, I can't. I just want to say something really quick before you guys take off. Is the other thing that I say is I see a lot of you like responding to comments and sticking up for certain things in certain situations, which is wonderful. I can't thank you enough for advocating for not only myself but the mythology and the training that we're doing to save dogs' lives. It means the world to me that you guys are sticking up for not only myself but my business. It's unbelievable. I plan on absolutely just taking over as much as I possibly can to just teach people things, new things and life-saving things. And I can't thank you enough. I'm going to keep working really, 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 really hard for the next 5 years, pushing and pushing and pushing to help as many people as I can. And I can't thank you guys enough for the support and all of the encouragement and all the stuff that you guys do, liking, commenting on every video. It gives me ammunitions. When I scroll through and I read your comments, it just pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes me to go. And I know Natalie, I think, asked earlier about like how do you not burn out? You guys. I mean, I care about you guys. I don't care about anybody else. I really just want you guys to benefit from what I'm doing. And I started off of just something that like I was doing, and it's becoming like a full-time thing. So I can't say how much I did all of this for you, 61 minutes here on YouTube for you guys. I appreciate you very much. Keep liking, keep commenting, keep sharing, keep just fighting the good fight. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, guys. Coda, come here. Let's say bye-bye. Oh, there's my baby girl. Look out for my new video this week. Make sure you turn on all your notifications. We'll do this again, guys. No worries. If I didn't get to your question, we'll do this again a different time. Thank you guys so much. Bye.